So yeah, my background is in technology. In 2002, I was living in an apartment complex, and at the time, I was involved with a group called Dublin WAN. So what we used to do is at the weekends we used to go out, we used to connect schools to set up point-to-point wireless links to deliver broadband to the schools. Just because back then, um, the broadband situation in 2002 was atrocious. You could Your broadband from Americom is about half a meg download, 128K upload, cost €600 a year for a landline. And I was on the board of management in the apartment complex, and I said, listen, we could. I said, I think I could create a giant Wi-Fi network here and give everybody broadband for half the price of an Aircom landline and deliver much faster speeds. And I said, and what we could do is we could set it up for the complex, so that the complex would get recurring revenue while still giving everybody really cheap broadband. The board thought about it and then said, "No, listen, we're not gonna go with that. But if you want to try it out yourself and then do it, then we'd be open to that suggestion." So I was an SAP consultant at the time, and having worked in wired networks for 10 years, the idea of wireless Ethernet and being able to do this in the complex just seemed like a very exciting challenge. So I set up Wi-Fi projects and proceeded to install a huge Wi-Fi network covering 9 blocks of apartments, 4 or 5 stories high, 333 units, and everybody got 4 meg symmetrical broadband for 25 quid a month. Started off 2 meg symmetrical, then we upgraded to 4. So I was delighted with myself. I thought this is the best thing ever. I was thrilled, and I had no idea that Wi-Fi was, could have any negative health implications. And then in 2005, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make the system. I wanted to get really fast broadband into the complex, so I wanted to get fiber in. And in the IFSC, where the apartment complex is, there's an Aircom exchange right beside us, maybe less than 100 meters away. So I was on the phone to Aircom. I said, "Listen, how much will it cost to get a fiber into the complex, and then I'll share it wirelessly?" And they said, "Oh, it's going to cost about, at the time it was about 100 grand or something like this." And I said, "You nuts? 100 grand? I'm not paying 100 grand for it." So then I was doing research, and I came across this technology called wireless fiber. I thought, "Geez, wireless fiber," and it was this company called Gigabeam had pioneered this new technology that was using really high spectrum from 71 to 76 and 81 to 86. And the reason it was using 2 bands is because it was full duplex, so you could get a full uncontended, clean gig, and it had a really low latency as well, because over short distances, the signal goes through air fast when it goes to the fiber optic cable. So anyway, 2.5 years later, I got the first test and trial license in the EU to open up this spectrum. And again, I thought I was doing the world a favor. In 2008, millimeter wave technology was now available point to point for all Irish businesses. Anybody who wanted to extend the fiber network could just basically plug a fiber cable into one of these wireless fiber units and send the signal across the road. So that was 2008. So if we fast forward then to 2017, in 2017, I've got a little girl and a little boy, and they're both in school. And they'd been in school for a couple of years, and everything was fine. So going great. And I got a phone call from the school one day, towards the end of September, October, I think, saying that Ethan wasn't well, and I had to go collect him from school. So I went up to the school, and he was standing there, and he was shaking, and he was in bits. I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, and he was tears in his eyes, and brought him home. After about being at home for maybe half an hour, he seemed to kind of fully recover. So I said, "Okay," and I said, "What's wrong?" And then so he went into school the next day, and he was in. And then about a week later, I got a call again to go and collect him. And this time he was shaking. He was physically shaking, and he kind of gone grey. And I found out. So this is around sort of October. A couple of weeks beforehand, at the AGM for the school, the chairman of the school stood up in front of everybody like this here and said, oh, we got an anonymous donation during summer for to improve the school's IT system. And everyone's like, okay. And he goes, so what we've done is we've gone off and we've got to get a Wi-Fi network in. You don't need to worry about it because it's already in progress, and the Wi-Fi network is going to be installed, next week or something. And everybody was standing there and everybody clapped and everything. I thought, oh, great, we're getting a Wi-Fi network. And I was standing there thinking, because I was treasurer in 2017 and nobody showed me any anonymous donation. But I didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay, fine, whatever. So anyway, the second time I was called to collect Ethan. I thought there's something. I just had this thing in my head saying there was something not right about this Wi-Fi network. So it turns out it would take too long to go through the whole process, or the whole story. But basically, the school had put in place a rogue Wi-Fi network. So I'm calling it a rogue Wi-Fi network because the school had put in a Wi-Fi network that could support 6,144 laptops. There was 30 laptops in the school. Less than 20 classrooms, 30 laptops. I think only 28 worked, just two weren't working. The manufacturer of the Wi-Fi boxes that was installed in the school, they recommend using 10 of their boxes if you have a school with 600 laptops. So 10 boxes for 600 laptops was what the manufacturer recommended. But our school nearly had a Wi-Fi box for every laptop. We had 24 boxes and 28 working laptops. No room in the school had laptops permanently because the laptops were stored in this kind of a laptop caddy thing. So the only classes that would use the laptops were, say, 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think. So at least half of the school, the younger half of the school, were being exposed to this industrial level Wi-Fi system for absolutely no reason. They could never use it, but they were being exposed to these like the off the chart signals. So now at that stage I didn't know there was the amount of devices that was in the school. I only found out exactly what was in the school. I complained to the Department of Education. I complained to Comreg first, then the Department of Education, then the Children's Ombudsman, then the Health and Safety Authority. I mean, I was all around the houses on this one. And in September 2018, September just gone, the Health and Safety Authority had come in June. Comreg had come in May to, analyse what was going on in the school. And I had to submit a Freedom of Information request in September to get my hands on the Health and Safety Authority report. So it was when I saw the Health and Safety Authority report that I saw everything that was in it. Now I still don't know exactly what, because there's more than just the Wi-Fi boxes that are in the school. There's also a management controller system. So I have no idea. No, as far as I know, no parent in the school has any idea like how much the system cost, what exactly was installed, what the other tenders are, and how much it's going to cost to maintain it, because you pay per box usually for maintenance. So back in October, I didn't know any of this, and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, geez, what's wrong? So I'm doing some research, and I come across a document called Resolution 1815. So Resolution 1815 was sent by the Council of Europe to 47 countries in 2011. And the document states clearly, it says, governments must put in place a public awareness campaign to inform the public of the dangers of microwave technology. And in particular, what they have a section on schools, and they say children should not be exposed to Wi-Fi. In the event that a child is exposed to Wi-Fi, it should only be exposed to Wi-Fi for the duration that it's actively using it, and when it is exposed, the system has to be turned down to the lowest power. So they promote no Wi-Fi, but if you are going to use Wi-Fi, they promote two principles. One is called the precautionary principle, and the second is called ALARA. Precautionary just means only turn it on when it's being used, and ALARA just means as low as reasonably achievable, which is turn it down to the lowest setting. So I'm reading this, I'm thinking, Jesus, like 2011, this was 2017, so this is like 6 years on. I'm thinking, what? I've never heard about Resolution 1815. And then then I started to search. I was trying to find research. I was thinking 2011, maybe there's been developments since then that have made things a little bit better. Maybe things aren't as bad as what they were in 2011. So I started doing loads of research, and I came across, the usual. There's thousands and thousands of papers out there, kind of industry sponsored, that will say, "Oh, look, it's fine. It's the same as a cup of coffee. It's grand. Like hardly anybody is affected by this." And I was thinking, as a dad, I'm thinking, well, hold on. Like, if somebody said to me, your little 4-year-old or 5-year-old is going into school, and listen, now, I'll tell you what, as soon as they walk in the door, we're going to give them a cup of coffee. We're going to keep on filling them with coffee until you collect them at 1:30. I'd be like, why are you nuts? You're not going to give them any coffee. In 2016, coffee was taken off the Group 2B list and was brought down to a Group 3. So it's not quite as bad as Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi is still a Group 2B. In 2011, as Tom said as well, 2011, diesel fumes were also on the Group 2B list. Diesel had got onto that list in 1988. Diesel came off that list. It's not on that list anymore. Diesel is now a Group 1. It's a definite. Everyone knows diesel fumes will definitely give you cancer. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. In 2016 or 17, a guy who used to be a World Health Organization advisor publicly stated that he felt that microwave frequencies and Wi-Fi should go straight to a Group 1. So I'm reading all this information, and I'm thinking, jeepers. And what happened was, around November, my son came out. I was looking at Ethan one day, he was in the kitchen, and he had this kind of red. His neck all seemed to be really deep, dark red. I was like, what the hell is that? Because I didn't know a rash could be associated with overexposure to EMFs. And we brought him to the chemist, and the chemist looked at him. Don't know, try this, different things. So I went to the school, I went through the Parents Association, I went through the proper channels, and I said, look, I need to talk, I need to present what I found to the Board of Management. They need to know what I know. So the board replied and said, no, that they didn't want to, they weren't interested, they didn't want to listen. Now at this stage, I was getting quite stressed. So I contacted the chairman of the board and I said, look, we have to talk. So I met with the chairman of the board, and we went for a walk and we had a chat, and I showed him all the findings, and I was able to show him some short videos and different things. And he said, okay, what we'll do is, he said, we'll definitely adopt the Alara principle. We'll definitely turn it down. Now, at this stage, I didn't know there was 24 boxes in the school. I thought, having, spent years installing wireless networks, I thought to myself, a school that size, 1 3-story building, 2 small 2-story buildings, you could easily give really good coverage to the entire school. And it's an old school as well. Old schools are generally RF friendly because the materials, the signal will go through them quite well. So I was thinking maximum 4, maybe 5 access points. That's what I was thinking in 2017. That's all the school would have. I think they'd be nuts. Why would you just wouldn't put any more than that in. So over the Christmas period, I'm doing research the whole time. It's just always on my mind. Just because of my background in wireless, I just thought I'm gonna find out about this. And then I went in 2018. I had gone to the Health and Safety Authority. Basically, Conrad came back and said, "We're not going to do anything." The Department of Education said, "We're not going to do anything." Even though when I contacted the Department of Education and showed them the installation manual from the manufacturer that said 10 Wi-Fi boxes for 600 laptops, I thought that was a slam dunk. I thought, right, okay, the Department of Education are going to step in here now and do something. But the department's response was, the school didn't get any funds from the department, so the department's not going to get involved. So I thought, okay, right, geez. So I went to the Health and Safety Authority, and Health and Safety Authority, in fairness, the people I was talking to on the phone were really good. They said, look, tell the school that we can send an inspector in, that they need to do a risk assessment. And most businesses in Ireland actually don't know that if you get a new Wi-Fi network into the business, you're supposed to get a risk assessment done. It's one of those kind of well-kept secrets. So I said to the school, I've been on to the HSA, you need to get a risk assessment done. And then over a period of about, a couple of weeks, like things never go as fast as you want. I kind of want somebody to respond, within an hour, but, take a few days and they respond. So anyway, the school, this was the Friday before the Easter, or the February break, the school responded that week and said, yeah, we've been on to the HSA and look, everything's fine. And I was reading that thing, what? Have they been talking to the same Health and Safety Authority as I? So straight away, I'm on the phone to the Health and Safety Authority. I said, I'm after getting this email from the school, and they said everything's fine. The person I spoke to in the Health and Safety Authority, she went crazy. She said, look, I'm not going to get involved in it. He said, she said, I told the school exactly what the HSA position is, which is you have to get a risk assessment done. So she said, look, you're going to have to send in a formal complaint. So I said, okay, right, fine, send in a formal complaint. But to send in a formal complaint, they were looking for things like, volts per meter squared, and kind of numbers that you would never normally use from an operational or from an engineering perspective. If you're doing anything to do with kind of designing or testing wireless networks, the standard things you use are things like the receive signal, RSSI and SNR, the different operational things that you'd use. So I thought, how am I gonna give these guys what they want? And there's a thing called free space path loss, FSPL. And back in sort of Dublin WAN and Irish WAN days, when we were setting up links that, you might set up a 20-kilometer link, and you'd use the FSPL, use that free space path loss there, just because what that does is it estimates how much loss the signal will generate over, say, a 20-kilometer link. But you'd never use that. You'd never have to use it for a classroom, because if you can see the box, you can get a signal off it. You don't need to. You'd then be using what I was telling you earlier with the RSSI. Anyway, I put together the numbers, and when I looked at the numbers, I just thought, oh my God, because I'd never had to calculate, what signal Gene is going to get sitting there from a Wi-Fi box that's here. Okay, so because every Wi-Fi box was inside a classroom, and one of the things, just on the classroom, quite small classrooms, probably 35 square meters of class, maybe even 30 square meters of classroom space. And the Department of Education's guidelines are that if you have a box inside a classroom, the classroom has to be 80 square meters or bigger. So that's like a good two-bedroom apartment. Now, there's no room in the school that's the size of a good two-bedroom apartment. So I sent in that was the February break, and it was, I could hardly sleep for the whole week. And then thank God that we had the bad weather and stuff like that, so the kids weren't at school as much. I was thinking that was great. They're not going into this place. And then I'm actually, if we could go to just back to that one, to the other. So when the first time I saw this was around kind of October, and I was looking at that and I was thinking, oh my God. Because bearing in mind, so the 5-year-old is over there on the left-hand side, and the adult is here. So there's 4-year-olds going into school, and kids develop an awful lot between 4 and 5. So, because of the amount of water in a child's brain, it conducts the electromagnetic signal further in, and also because their school hasn't fully developed as well. So I was looking at these and I was thinking, oh, jeez. And then, at that stage, I still didn't fully understand. I was still what I really, really needed, and what the school wouldn't give me. What I needed was the make and model number of the box, because once I have the make and model number, then I could check out the data sheet at the technical specs. And once I have the technical specs, then I can figure out exactly what the exposure levels would be. But without that information, I was kind of, in the dark. I didn't know. I just had everything was kind of on a hunch. So the school had said so I'd made logical complaint with the department. The school had said incorrectly that my complaint was that the units themselves weren't compliant with EU law. Now, of course, the units would have to be compliant. If they weren't compliant with EU law, you wouldn't be able to buy them. My complaint was that the units were configured incorrectly. They were just set too high. So the department, unexpectedly, the department contacted me and said, oh, we've got this certificate of compliance that these units are in compliance with the EU law. And I was thinking, okay. But the great thing about this was, then all of a sudden I had a make and model. So it was like, all right, so now I knew, so the company, well, it doesn't matter what the model number was, but so now I had something to work off. So I logged on to the manufacturer's website. You know, it was up to around 3 in the morning that night, looking at all the different specs. And then, that's what helped me put together the numbers for the health and safety authority. So at this stage, so these kids ended up going back into school, and the system had been turned down. I got a confirmation email on the 11th of December that the system was cranked down to the lowest setting. I was kind of, reasonably pleased with that. I thought, okay, fine, system's at the lowest setting, everything's going to be okay. But then what started happening, that's when Ethan started, the neck rash thing started to come back again. Now, it wasn't as deep as it had been, like the colour wasn't as deep as it had been in November, but I started to notice like just a slight change. And that got me concerned again. So I take a photograph of his neck. He hated it, but I take a photograph of his neck and I send it in by email. And so the school agreed to turn off, to make sure that the Wi-Fi system in his classroom was turned off. And the same for Beth. So both my children's classrooms had Wi-Fi off. They stopped complaining about, Ethan stopped complaining about headaches. And I kind of was a little bit relaxed. So then I had to fly over to Bulgaria there was an Internet Society meeting. So all the internet chapters in Europe, there's about 24. There's people from Armenia to Turkey. It was great. Now I'd never met any of these people before in my life. Landed in Sofia, and for the first time I spoke to a group, kind of like this, and I just let it all out. I just stood up there because everyone would stand up and like give a 2-minute speech, and like I'm Hector or whatever from wherever, and I stood up and I just said. And I'd been thinking about it on the plane going over. Actually, when I was on the plane flying over to Sofia, it's a beautiful city, actually, really, really nice. And when I was on the plane going over, I was typing up an email to send to the principal of the school because I just had enough. I just thought, this is too stressful. It's just not worth it. So I sent an email to the principal of the school, and I said, look, if you can help me get the kids into this school called St. Kevin's. If you can help me get the kids into St. Kevin's, because the way principals can talk to each other, I said, I'll have our kids out there in a week. They'll be gone. I'll have them out of school in a week. And so that was, anyway, I meet everyone in Sofia. I just let it all out. And the meeting, we were there to talk about things like the Internet of Things and different advances in the Internet. And I told them about the Wi-Fi problem, and I said, look, we're the Internet Society. We have to promote a healthy internet. We can't be promoting Wi-Fi access to the internet if it's going to hurt people, especially children. And everyone kind of round of applause, and everyone agreed. So then when I'm coming home, if you go to the next slide. So then when I'm coming home, I'm on this Lufthansa airline. Okay, and on the Lufthansa airline, they have this commercial Wi-Fi service. It's a really good service. Commercial Wi-Fi service, you pay €15 for the service. For the service, they give you a whole pile of movies and different things and documentaries, and you can stream them to your phone, your tablet, whatever it is. So I took out the phone and I took a signal reading of how strong this particular service was. So you can see here, it's minus 60. Okay, minus 60. That's a really good signal. So with a signal that strong, you can stream whatever you want, high definition movie to your tablet or to your phone or whatever it is. So if we go to the next slide. So this is the signal inside the classroom. So on this, can I do this? So each line, so minus 60 is 10 times stronger than minus 70. So minus 50 is 10 times stronger than minus 60. Minus 40 is 100 times stronger. Minus 30 is 1,000 times stronger. 1,000 times stronger. So where we are there, we're kind of in the middle. So it's kind of around probably 400 to 500 times stronger than a commercial Wi-Fi service. Now this is when the system has been lowered down to its lowest level. Remember, so I was told on December 11th that it was turned down to its lowest level. So this is the lowest level. So I'm thinking, geez. So when I come back, the great thing about these graphs is like you don't have to know, and if you go back and forth between those two for a second, it doesn't matter if you're a techie or not. You can tell, okay, that's a good signal. You flick back to the other one. Jeepers, what's going on in the school? So I sent those two to Comreg, to the Health and Safety Authority, sort of contacted everybody again. And this time, when they had, these two graphs to look at, it was plain as day to see that there was something going on at the school that wasn't quite right, that the system was definitely far too strong for what was required. So Comreg got onto me then and said, look, we're going to come in. I thought, okay, great. I could imagine this kind of a SWAT team kind of coming into the school. And so Comreg come in around the kind of the 8th, I think they might have been in the 8th, 9th and 10th of May, or maybe the 9th, 10th and 11th, but they came in at the start of May. And, they don't release the report the next day. It takes about a month for them to release the report, but eventually when they do release the report, they release the report in June. And so when they release the report in June, the interesting thing about the report is the signal levels are all lower. The signal levels are not, minus 35. The signal levels are now kind of minus 55, minus 60. So every single signal, because there's a box in every single classroom, and everything had been changed. Now, no classroom, even though all classrooms have this exact same make and model of unit inside the classroom, no two classrooms are set at the same levels, which is kind of odd. So from an operational point of view, that doesn't make sense. Because if you're managing, 20 boxes, you want to have them all set at the same setting, so that if you make one setting, you can do it uniformly across all of them. You don't have somebody going in making little tweaks to one that are different to another, because it doesn't make sense. Well, especially in a school that only has 30 laptops and nobody's actually using the system. So Comreg came in, they did the report, and the Comreg system is all lower. So on the 18th of June, my son is in a play in school. I think it was a Wednesday night. And I'm in the school hall, take out the phone. And the Wi-Fi network is supposed to be off in the evenings, right? So I take out the phone and I take a snapshot of the signal. And the signal that I take matches exactly the signal that Comreg had. However, the signal, so my reading matches Comreg's reading, but neither of those readings match this one. And there's readings going back from April 2018 to October 2017, and all readings between October and April all match each other, but none of them match the new reduced signal. So that's on June the 18th. Next day, I copied the school on this. 10 days later, the Health and Safety Authority. When the Health and Safety Authority releases its report, when I get my hands on it in September, oh yeah, just the Comreg report, the lowest powered unit in the whole school was the unit that was inside the principal's office.
Oh.
So there's some classrooms that the output in some classrooms is 100 times stronger than what was in the principal's office. And when they were taking readings inside the school, they were taking readings at a distance of 3 meters from the antenna. Let's say this is the principal's desk. When the system was first installed in the principal's office, the antenna was here, behind the principal's desk. When Comrade came in to do their investigation, it had been moved. It wasn't there anymore. It was now in front of the desk, pointing out the door. So they couldn't do a 3 meter test because you couldn't get 3 meters away. So they could only do a 2 meter test. No other classroom had their antenna moved, but the principal had her. Well, I don't know if she had it moved, but somebody moved the principal's antenna so that it was no longer pointed towards the principal. But nobody moved any of the antenna away for the kids. So where are we now? So if we go on to the next slide. So this is I only got this like a couple of months ago, because one of the things that was really difficult to sort of to marry the biological effects with the sort of operational readings. Okay. So I came across this was there was an autoimmunity conference in Portugal last year. This was at the Professor Marshall was giving a talk, and this was a chart that he used. And remember earlier on when I was saying that, see that minus 50? See that minus, can you see the minus 50? Kind of here. So normally, your normal Wi-Fi network operates between minus 45 and minus 87. That's the standard sort of range. Minus 45 being the strongest, minus 87 being the weakest. So Dr. Magda Havas had come up with this. So at minus 50, which is quite a strong signal. So at minus 50, you can see all the different effects. So this is minus 40, this is minus 30, and this is minus 20. This system that was in each classroom, when it's turned up to full power, would be exposing the children to something between minus 18 and minus 24. So remember I was saying, so if this is minus 60, this is 50, so it's 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. So, 10,000 times. Even if it was only 1,000 times, it's, these signals are just nuts. So I said it to Comrade, I said, look, these signals, I didn't show them that picture because I didn't have it at the time. But I just said, I said, if a child was exposed to a signal that was only 500 times stronger than the Lufthansa Air, the commercial Wi-Fi, does that then mean, or 400 times, does that then mean that 1 day exposure inside the school is actually the same as 400 days condensed into one? And there's only 183 days in the school year. So if it was 400 school days, that would be over 2 years. So does that mean that a child got 2 years worth of exposure in 1 day? And for how long were they getting these signals? So my complaint to the Health and Safety Authority was, and to Comrade, was to, and both of them have not done it to date. I said, I want to know how long my children were exposed, like what levels they were exposed to and for how long, because I don't know what the ramifications of that are. One of the things in the 2011 Council of Europe, in their warning document, Resolution 1815, it's only a 3-page document, but it contains quite a lot of information. And in section 8, it talks about schools and children. Now, as a dad, I was reading it, and so everywhere we see microwave and non-ionizing and non-thermal, I'm just looking at, I can just see Wi-Fi just jumping off the page at me. And when I read section 8 and it mentions schools, children, Wi-Fi, and susceptible to brain tumors, that's a warning. That's a red light warning. I'm thinking, if the only thing it said was susceptible to a headache, if Wi-Fi could just cause a headache, if that was the only thing it could cause, I would say we have to have it out of school. It's going to impair their learning ability. Can't have it. It just doesn't make sense. And particularly in a school with only 30 laptops and 500 children. So to this day, so Comreg refused to get involved. They wouldn't look at it. The Health and Safety Authority have said that they're not going to look at it either, even though it's been conclusively proven, 2 state agency reports, that the system was altered downwards to mislead the Health and Safety Authority. They still won't get involved because I don't think they don't want to go near this, because it'll open up a Pandora's box. Now, in 2011, the thing that they said was they warned about brain tumors. Now, as Tom said, the chances of getting a brain tumor are really, 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 really remote. And the 2011 encouraged lots and lots of independent research studies to happen. So since 2011, what they found out is that, okay, you might get a brain tumor, but children are more likely to have, to have their reproductive organs to be, messed with. Basically, the eggs of a girl might just get fried, and the boys might have a problem with the sperm. Now, as far as I know, there are certain methods that you can use with boys that you can. Saw this American guy on it talking about there are different things you can do that can help regenerate a boy's sperm, especially when they come to sort of when they're 12, 13, stuff like that. But when it comes to the girls, if the eggs are gone, the eggs are gone. That's it. They're not coming back. They're gone. Those little girls are born with those eggs. So there's 500 children in the school. I think it's more girls than boys. I think it might be, I don't know, 270 girls and 230 boys. But what's happened? With that kind of exposure? What are the ramifications and implications for the kids in school? I mean, you'd look at them today and you would they look fine, they look perfect, because you can't see inside them, so nobody knows what's going on. Now, obviously, the system has been turned down considerably since then. The system is right down. It's right down to sort of 99%. So right now, the system is very, very low. They still have units inside the box. But there's nearly 4,000 primary schools in Ireland, and it's around the same again in secondary schools. No parent in Ireland today has any idea as to what exposure levels their kids are getting in the classroom. Not only does the parent not know, but the teachers don't know either. So we're really, as a society, when it comes to children in school and their exposure levels to Wi-Fi, we're completely in the dark. Nobody has any idea what's going on there. And that's why, so I went to the Irish Times about this. They wouldn't print it. Went to RTE, Joe Duffy wouldn't talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it in authority, nationally. So that was why, that's why I'm running as an MEP, because the only way to talk about it was if you're running as an MEP candidate, but then you get to have some airtime. So now I went into RTE, and I gave so each candidate gets a 1-minute video, and I went in and I gave them 1-minute video, and then about a week later I got a phone call from RT, and they're like, this now. First of all, I got an email. Can you send in official documentation to back up what you said? So I sent in all the official documentation, and then I got a phone call, and it was like, yeah, look, I know you've got the official documentation there, but I don't know, this is a bit of a problem for us. And I was like, why is it a problem? Well, people might think that the government have deliberately damaged children. I said, this is what we were told. Put in a public awareness campaign. Educate parents and teachers and children as to the dangers of Wi-Fi in schools. Do not have Wi-Fi in schools. Always give preference to wired. And if you do have Wi-Fi, always adopt the precautionary and the allowance principles, which is turn it on and turn it down, and then obviously turn it off. So where was I going with that? So yeah, the oh yeah, RTE. So they said to me, okay, right. So you have to come in again. So I said, okay, right, fine. Now, I had been talking to somebody else. They were, they were saying, look, you could make a big song, dance, and go to the paper and say, and I just thought, look, I just want to get the message out there. So I went back into RTE and I did my 1 minute video. I also got an opportunity to do a 5 minute video because there's very little you can say in 1 minute. Hi, how's it going? My name's Allan. I'm going as an MEP. That's about it. Right? But now I did get the last line in the 1 minute video. It did say that Irish children should be afforded the same protection as French children when it comes to safety in schools. But then the 5 minute radio interview comes along, right? And I was thinking, deadly. 5 minutes, plenty of time. I can relax, tell people about myself, and then give them a good idea, a good feel for what's going on in the school. And they said they were going to air the 5 minute video, and I thought, great. And I heard about 8 seconds of the 5 minute radio interview, and in that 8 seconds, I think I just said there shouldn't be Wi-Fi in schools, or there shouldn't be Wi-Fi in maternity hospitals. In fact, there shouldn't be Wi-Fi in any hospital, which of course there shouldn't. But that was it. So the nation hasn't got to hear my 5 minute story. Yeah, and that's why I'm here, and that's what I want to talk about. If we go to the next slide. So, and this is a little bit scary, but because so the thing about unlicensed spectrum, Wi-Fi operates in the unlicensed spectrum range. So unlicensed spectrum means there's no hullabaloo, there's no going applying for licenses. Manufacturers can just churn out the devices and start selling them. Nobody has to apply for a license. And what's happened now is, so right now you can go onto Amazon, wherever you want, and you can get it's 802.11ad. It's the 60 gigahertz. It's the next version, or the current version of Wi-Fi, 60 gigahertz. So that would be twice as high as Tom was talking earlier on about the 28 gigahertz frequencies. So this would be over twice as high as so they're millimeter waves. They're really, really small. And I've got, actually, there's a paper there, this doctor in the UK, and he did some research, because the manufacturers are coming up with these chipsets really, really quickly, and they're rolling them out, and the researchers and people who need to study them from a health and safety perspective really are kind of behind the curve. The guys who are churning out the stuff rolling off the plants, they're coming out far too quick for everybody to do the proper research, because you can't do research over the course of a day. You need to do the research. Generally speaking, the longer the research, the better it is. But there's a guy, this doctor in the UK, and the research to date that he's done, his concern is that because the waves are so small, these little small millimeter waves, and because they're coming so fast, so 60 gigahertz is 60 billion in a second. So he has concerns with regards to, because they won't penetrate really deep into the skin, but what they will do is they'll damage your eyes, and so he's really concerned about a massive increase in skin cancer. And for children, the children's eyes are more susceptible to damage than our own eyes as well. But what's going to happen is, if we have just blindly adopt Wi-Fi in schools, what will happen is, in a year or two's time, the next evolution of the Wi-Fi box that goes into the classroom won't just be the one that's operating on the 2 channels, the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz. It will also be the 60 gigahertz. And that's an absolute frightening thought. To be honest, the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz is scary enough as it is, without having that 60 gigahertz. I wanted to bring along this box just to give you an idea. Where's it going? So back in 2004, 2003, 2004, when we were putting in the network in the IFSC, had these boxes, had loads of these boxes. Now there's more boxes in the school. Remember the school I was talking? There's more boxes in the school than there was in for the 333 apartments. The school has more boxes than I do. But back in those days, this box could operate, it could do 100 meg. It had a speed of 54, but you could bond 2 channels together and you could get 100 meg off this box. This box has an output power of 32 milliwatts. Okay, so and it was strong enough. What you do is you'd have that in the center recorder, and that would beam signal into say 3 or 4 apartments. At home, right? Because the problem isn't just in schools, and it's good that we've got a picture of a home there. I was in 3 homes over the last couple of months, and inside the homes they had Virgin, they had Air, and they had Sky. And the Virgin, Air, and Sky boxes inside in the homes would be 3 times more powerful than this. And not only are they 3 times more powerful, but this only operated on 1 frequency, sent out 1 signal, 2.4 gig frequency. The 2.4 gig the wavelength is about 10 centimeters, so it sends out 2.5 billion of these, a second. But the boxes that are in the Virgin, Sky, and the Air boxes are sending out 2 radio networks. One is the 10 centimeter wave, and the second one is a 5 centimeter wave, smaller. But the 5 centimeter wave, they're sending 5 billion of those guys every second, rather than just 2.4 billion. So you've got the combination of the two radio frequencies, and in a year's time, you'd probably have the 3rd frequency, which would be that even higher, the 60 gig. And we just can't have it, folks. I mean, we just can't have this kind of technology inside the classroom. What happened to if we could just go back to the very start, to the first one? What happened to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child? Everything that we do concerning a child must be in a child's best interests. Every country in Europe has signed up to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So how come every country in Europe, well, I mean, the French are obviously better protected, so how come we have Wi-Fi in schools? It's a group listed possible carcinogen. That's not in the best interest of the child. So it just, where we are, we've been led. The government haven't informed us. They were supposed to inform us. They haven't informed us. They've gone out of their way, in my opinion, not to inform us. Because 2 years after the resolution 1815 was sent, the European Environmental Agency sent out another document. It's called Late Lessons Learned, Mobiles and Brain Tumors. And in that document, it basically reaffirms everything that was said in the resolution 1815. In 2014, a year after getting 2 documents from Europe warning about Wi-Fi and brain tumors in kids and schools and everything, our Department of Communications contacted the RIVM Institute in Holland and get them to produce a report. And if you contact the Department of Communications today with any issues regarding Wi-Fi, they'll say, oh yeah, so that's all been sorted out with the RIVM report. So you go and you have a look at the RIVM report, and it quite clearly states at the start of it that the RIVM report does not deal with Wi-Fi. It lists the frequencies that it focuses on, but they're not Wi-Fi frequencies. So some of the information contained in the RIVM report dates back, they reference studies that 2007, 4 years before it was listed as an IARC carcinogen. So the report is absolute nonsense. It's got outdated and debunked information, and they're providing this to anybody who contacts them and says, oh yeah, well, this is our position on Wi-Fi. I mean, it's an absolute nonsense. With regards to primary schools, and another reason why they shouldn't have it is because every primary school has to sign a governance manual. And the governance manual, section 21C of the governance manual, it's the finance section. It says that every primary school must have in place a comprehensive insurance policy. Must have in place a comprehensive insurance policy. Once you get Wi-Fi into the school, it's specifically excluded